Night Contender Series. Hey everyone, I'm Megan O'Leary alongside Joseph Benavidez. Welcome to the pre-show presented by Toyo Tires, All or Nothing. All right, Joseph, there have been so far in Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series 30 live fights and 11 contracts given out. Very good odds for those competing on the show. I know you're a big fan of the series. Give me your thoughts on the week so far.
Yeah, like you said, I'm a big fan. I don't miss it. Every Tuesday, whether I'm watching at home or getting to get to the shows live, which are really incredible and intimate to see those guys in there in the tough gym, you know, fighting for UFC contracts. So it's just a beautiful thing for this upcoming talent, the young blood in our sport. And I think we've seen some guys that are going to continue to make an impact in the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, the only place you can watch Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series is on UFC Fight Pass. If you don't have a subscription, head on over to UFCFightPass.com and sign up. The live fights begin in just moments. But before the fights start, let's talk about some of them. One fight I know you're very interested in your division at 125 pounds is JP Buys versus Joey Sanchez. JP, a newcomer to the show, but Joey Sanchez has already had an appearance on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I always love watching the flyweights. I'm a fan of all these guys. And not only has Joby had a fight in the Contender Series, but he's also a 3-fight UFC veteran. So he definitely showed improvements between his fights in the UFC and the Contender Series, but it wasn't enough to land him the contract. So he still found himself after the show asking Dana White for another shot and another shot to compete in the Contender Series. Enter his opponent, JP Buys, a Team Alpha Male transplant from South Africa. 4-1, 3 first-round finishes, and he just found himself in the right place at the right time. The alpha male guys, including the general, Uriah Faber, are so high on this guy that Faber had brought him down to be acquainted with the UFC and the people he needs to be acquainted with. They overheard Joby's conversation with Dana, brought JP up and said, we got a guy that'll take the fight.
All right, you mentioned right place, right time. Joey Sanchez, obviously a UFC vet, like you mentioned. He's got a record of 10-2, very well-rounded fighter, somebody you have seen train in the gym at Jackson's. And then JP, although he doesn't have quite as many fights, he's finished all of his victories inside the cage. So when you look at how they're matched up in terms of their mixed martial arts skill, what really are you seeing?
I see just a little more experience on Joby's side, you know, and maybe the tenacity to finish a little more on JP's side, you know, with he just has a few fights, so he's still in that kind of fearless point of his career with just 5 fights in. But, you know, Joey Sanchez has kind of been here before, and, you know, he found himself the first time in the UFC as a newcomer, where now he's really fighting as a vet against a real newcomer, some young blood.
I want to ask you something. If you are Joey Sanchez, do you feel pressure? Do you feel like your back's against the wall? You've been in the UFC, unfortunately then cut from the roster. You had your chance on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. You won. Didn't quite get the job done, but you impressed enough to come back. Do you feel like this is a very high-pressure situation?
Definitely a little more pressure than his opponent would have. But still, a veteran like him, you know, he knows what it takes. He knows to take it one fight at a time. He still won last time, and that was great for his career. Got him this win. I mean, he's still getting paid when he does win. But yes, his ultimate goal is the UFC. So he's going to feel pressure, I think, to put on a great performance to get the contract. But I think the win is first and foremost for him, and he'll go out and, you know, try not to compromise his style. In that case. Yeah,
it should be fun. That one at 125 pounds. Now let's take a closer look at the two men in tonight's featured bout.
My name is Kennedy Nzechukwu. I fight out of Fortis MMA Dallas, and I'm here to show everyone I'm the new generation fighter. I'm from Nigeria. I grew up in a little village. Hunting and farming was a big activity to the villagers. It's not like over here in America where you could actually easily go to the grocery store to get your food. But over there, you have to actually hunt what you eat. In Africa, we do hard labor and hard work on the farms. I think all those stuff evolutionized my game. When I moved to the US from Nigeria 5 years ago, I saw Chuck Liddell and Anderson Silva. I began to like it more and more, and I knowing that I'm fast, agile, and strong, I decided to give it a try. And from there, everything took place. The worst day of my life was when my mom was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. When she was diagnosed with that disease, it really hit home. It was a big toll on me. My dad didn't really get involved in it. He wasn't supportive of it. My dad left her. He didn't want anything to do with her. So it took a toll on me, but I just couldn't stay down for too long because I'm a strong-willed person. I just kept on striving. Everything I do is for her. This disease is very bad. They haven't found a cure yet, but they say they have a procedure that could reduce the momentum of this disease, and that's in California. There's a stem cell treatment for it. So this fight here is everything to me. So I'm trying to use this fight as an open door to UFC to get paid to help my mom, to generate money for her stem cell treatment. When I got the call from UFC, I was excited because it's been a dream, and I know it will come true with hard work. And there's nothing that could take this away from me.
My name is Anton from Belden Studios in Philadelphia, PA, and I'm here to show the world what I can do. I was on Tough 19. I was BJ Penn's first pick. You know, he was very impressed with my fight to get into the house. Everything just kind of was against me. The first week there, I had a bad tooth infection. The day that we were gonna pick for the next weight class to fight, I actually had to go get my tooth pulled. Kind of just made my body weak. Fighting, once I was in the ring, I just had an adrenaline dump. In my mind, I was ready to smoke my opponent. Although, you know, he's really good, everything, I thought, I'm gonna smoke him. I think at one point, I took him down, took his back, then went for an armbar, and he wiggled out, and it was kind of like, oh, I'm in here for another 3 rounds. And I didn't mentally prepare myself for that, which is the biggest mistake I made, but it's also the biggest lesson I've ever learned in my life. Now, it's anytime I train for a fight, I train for 5 rounds, you know, 3 rounds, whatever it is, I'm ready to go to war. Losing on Tough 19, it's one of the worst feelings in the world, man. I think about it every single morning. It's awesome motivation. I'm motivated. Anton is pretty scary, man. I'm at the peak of my career right now. There's nowhere you can take me in the octagon that's gonna throw me off. Anywhere you put me, it's my house. I'm comfortable there. I have no doubt I'm the best fighter in the world, just no one knows it yet.
All right, this should be a great one at light heavyweight. Joseph, let's talk about Anton versus Kennedy. 2 incredible background stories, which we will get into. But there's a difference here in their records. We've got, 2-0, somebody who's only been training for 2 years, versus 5-1, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. How do you see this one playing out, and how do you see that discrepancy in, their records playing out in their skill sets?
Yeah, Anton, he has the experience here, 5-1. He's competed on Tough 19 before. And, since then, he's had a hard time finding opponents. He's a BJJ black belt, and he was actually contemplating taking professional boxing matches because it was so hard to get fights on the local circuit. Therefore, he really felt this was, a natural, logical transition to be in the UFC on a national level here. And his opponent, like we mentioned, only 2 fights, only been training 2 years. But, extremely talented to get all the way here after 2 fights and actually an amateur win at heavyweight. I think the X factor for him is he takes in a world of personal motivation. He has a sick mother and brother, which he takes care of, and he takes that in his heart in the octagon every time he enters, takes that in his training, and that stuff can be just as powerful as experience.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about, the fact that he only has 2 fights. However, with that amateur fight, 3 fights in 2 years, that's not necessarily that bad for somebody who literally just started training in 2015. Do you believe that his skill set has evolved so quickly because he is a natural at this sport?
Yeah, it definitely has, and that's why I think he finds himself here after just 2 fights and, win at heavyweight. That's 100% why he finds himself here. He knows he belongs. His coaches believe in him, and obviously the matchmaker saw something in this guy even after just 2 professional fights.
Yeah, Kennedy's first time in Las Vegas will be for this fight. The only city he's even been to in America is Dallas, where he trains. And then you've got Anton on the other side, who trains out of Philadelphia. He immigrated from the Ukraine. One of 10 kids, incredible story as well on his end. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Is his whole goal in this fight, if you are Anton, take this to the canvas?
It could be. If he sees that weakness, it's great to know that he has it and can control the fight and always resort to his BJJ. But the fight starts on the feet, and for a guy like Anton, who was contemplating taking professional boxing matches, he surely is confident there as well. But it's nice to have that BJJ black belt in your back pocket.
Yeah, seriously is. All right, well, that should be a great featured bout at 205. And Joseph, before I let you go, we got to talk about Snoop Dogg and Uriah Faber. 2 guys that always entertain every time they're calling fights. I mean, this Snoopcast, it's fun, right? It's different and it's unique.
Exactly. Fun, different, and unique, adds a whole different perspective from the sport. And that's great where the sport is getting to that point where it doesn't have to be so much, you know,
on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, on the straight and narrow. And you can add a guy like Snoop Dogg and Uriah to mess around there and just give a different experience for the fans. It's great.
Yeah, let's take a look at their Week 6 Snoopcast highlights.
Oh, she's got it.
She don't know how to do it.
She does know how to do it.
No, she don't. Because if she knew how to do it, it would have been done. You can't have it like that and don't finish it.
Oh!
She finished it?
She finished it.
She finished it? I like his hair. It looks like a wave in the ocean. Yeah, Grant know what he's doing, man. This boy is good. All you guys that talked about me in high school kicked me off all the teams. I could never go to the parties. The girls didn't ever look at me. Every time I went to the vending machine, there was no more snacks left. He earned the contract.
So far,
I'm gonna keep it 100.
So far, he's the contract guy.
I'm gonna keep it 100. He good as a motherfucker. I love kids that was bullied that end up becoming fighters, man. We'll see y'all next week. Same dog channel, same dog time. You funky bitch, you.
All right, the California Kid and Snoop Dogg, you can always click on them and listen to the Snoopcast anytime during Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. And don't forget, the fights start in just a moment. The only place to watch them is on UFC Fight Pass. If you don't have a membership, head on over to UFCFightPass.com. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. I know you're really interested in these fights, so we'll let you go watch. We appreciate your time. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it for this pre-show for Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, brought to you by Toyo Tires, All or Nothing. We'll see you next week.
As I started to go out and look at talent around the country, I started to realize how much talent there is. The level of athlete is getting better and better. This has never been done in the history of combat sports. We're literally going out there all over the world to try to find the next world champion.
Growing up in Waianae, Hawaii, you're always fighting, you know. I believe that God has put me on earth to be a champion one day.
My mom did a great job of raising 6 kids. Sometimes we didn't know if we were gonna have heat or not. Sometimes we didn't know if we were gonna have hot water or not. We got through it, and now I'm here fighting for them.
I have no idea how I was comfortable sleeping in the football field in Hamilton Park. I had bags of training clothes. I knew deep down, this is all gonna change.
I was diagnosed with leukemia when I was 2.5 years old. And I've always been a fighter. All I needed to ever do was show Dana that I deserve to be here.
I came from the bottom, clawing my way to the top.
This is everything I've been working for. I'm ready.
I was the little guy in a pretty rough neighborhood. I'm gonna achieve greatness, and this is just step one.
There's no denying that I should be in the UFC.
I fight for my kids.
I fight for my dreams.
I fight for the glory.
I fight for my kids, I fight for my family, and I fight to be the best in the world.
The only person I fear is my mom. I ain't fighting her, so we good.
What's up, Dana? I hope you have that multi-fight deal for me, because I'm coming for the knockout.
If you know me, you know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for exciting fighters that go for broke and try to win.
I came from the jungle. I'm ready to be one of the top fighters in UFC.
I deserve the second chance. I belong in the UFC.
Who knows what's gonna happen, but I'm in there to finish my opponent.
For Dana to be impressed, I have to finish this guy.
I'm gonna put on the fight of my life.
The Tuesday Night Contender Series, live and only on UFC Fight Pass.
What's your problem? Bored? Stop whining and watch a fight. Not just a fight, pretty much every MMA fight worth watching. How? UFC Fight Pass, that's how. It's a digital streaming service with the world's largest fight library, original shows, and exclusive live events. That's thousands of fights being through your eyeballs and into your brain. Anywhere, anytime. Problem solved. UFC Fight Pass solves everything.